Hello. Sorry about that. We got everything going off at the same time. Hi, I'm Laura Zervis, and I'm so happy to be here for Lending Hearts on behalf of Lending Hearts to do our nutrition program today. I'm really excited. We always try to pack a lot of things in here. Today, I have 4 dishes that are perfect for the busy family or for anybody that doesn't have a lot of time for meal prep, but still wants to keep an eye on their nutrition and focus on their wellness. So I have 4 recipes that come together very quickly. I did a little pre-prep, so I did cheat a little bit, but it's only because we're going to do 4 things in 1 hour. So I'm not going to jump around as much today. Probably going to go through one thing at a time and finish it just so you can see how quickly they come together. So a few twists on some old favorites and some old classics, not pretending to be the original, just to try to capture the essence. And when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about one of our dishes. It's a lemony chicken saltimbocca, and we know that a classic saltimbocca could be either some type of protein like chicken or veal. You could certainly explore with some meat alternates, but we are going to do that with chicken today, and it's always going to have prosciutto and some sage. And our version is going to be the quick version, but trying to capture that essence so we could have something really delicious on even a weeknight. That's going to come together in less than 20 minutes. All of these should come together in 20 minutes or less. So I'm really excited about that. We also have a beef and broccoli and red pepper stir fry. And I'm going to use some low sodium ingredients on that one to just keep that health in check. And certainly you could substitute any protein of your choice. I just tried to do a little bit of everything today. So we had a beef, we have 2 chickens, and we also have a fish recipe. Our other thing is going to be, or other dish rather, is going to be a panko crusted fish stick, if you will. And certainly you could leave these in whole fillets, and you could use many types of fish. And of course, I usually have to make some substitutions. Today's no different. Today I wanted to use a halibut, couldn't get that. I'm going to substitute some haddock, any type of fish that is mild and that will stay together. It's not one of the flakier fishes. Any that'll hold its shape will work really well with this recipe. So I'm going to use haddock. Certainly, like I said before, you could leave it whole if you prefer, but fish sticks, like if you cut them into slices, we could prepare it faster. Maybe it'll be more acceptable to those in your household, especially our younger people that might not be up for fish, but certainly they like finger foods and things with a breading on them. So we're going to use a panko breading, and we're also going to make a little dip with that. So who doesn't like to pick up a finger food and dip it? And what a great way to introduce a new food to someone that maybe they're not sure how they feel about fish or something like that. So again, that's going to come together very quickly. And our last entree that we're going to make is a Mediterranean stuffed chicken breast. 4 ingredients, okay? So we just have feta, well, maybe one extra here. We have the chicken, we have the feta, black olives, red pepper, and onions. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ingredients. So really excited about that one. And that comes together very quickly also, especially, it's a good idea. Sometimes we become, so busy in everyday life. It's our meal prep can be put on the back burner, but it might be a great idea, at dinner, when we're all together to decide before we leave the table, what should we have for dinner tomorrow? And it's a great idea to go shopping in that refrigerator or freezer and see what you have on hand. If you have some frozen foods like today, with our beef and broccoli, last night I just pulled out some old sirloin steak that I had. Not old, it's been in there, and this is going to go really well. It's not like what I mean is it's been in the freezer. I also had some chicken in the freezer, took that out, and I took my fish out. And remember, I had the fish that was individually wrapped, frozen, flash frozen. You want to make sure that you open that up and take it out of the package and let it defrost. And then I covered it, of course, put that on a glass dish and let that defrost overnight. And that's the best way. That's when you get all of the liquid out of that one. So let's get started. Again, all of my recipes by the end of the day should be on lauraservice.com. I usually delay that just because I like to add some fresh pictures and fresh photos and show you how, in case you missed today's class, if you want to look and see, if you have any questions about the prep or how we did anything, you could certainly look there. So I'm going to grab my fish out of the refrigerator, just trying to keep that nice and cold. Let's start with our, see, what would you like to start with today? Let's do our fish. Actually, let's leave that in the refrigerator. Let's start with our beef and broccoli. That's a fun one. And that doesn't take much time at all to get together. And I'm just saying that because I'm thinking we have to work with our chicken, and I want to make sure that we don't do any cross-contamination. So let's do our beef and broccoli first. I think you're going to like this one a lot. Let me grab my prep right here. And having a few technical difficulties today, so not going to be able to adjust my camera, so I'm just going to have to show you everything. Really nice ingredients today. I have, let me see, we have our beef, and I use sirloin, and that has just been marinating. I just did that right before class. Just some soy sauce and Hassan sauce and a little bit of cornstarch, and just let it grab the flavor. I also have about one red pepper. We have some scallions for our garnish, some dark sesame oil that you can get at any grocery store. You don't have to go to a specialty store. A little bit of oil. I also have some water, some sliced red onion, julienne style, very thin. And I also have some broccoli here ready to go. Of course, salt and pepper are going to be in there too. So let's get started. We're going to start with our beef, and lots to do on the stove top today. So sometimes we have days where we're doing a lot in the oven. We just have one dish that's going to go in the oven. The rest are going to be on the stove top. So let's get that started. And we're just going to add a little bit of oil to our pan. Okay, and we're just going to add a small amount because I am using a non-stick pan, just about a tablespoon. And we're just going to swirl that around. And again, I get that question a lot. Is it safe to eat red meat? Of course, it can be part of a healthy diet. We did make sure that we're using the sirloin, which is a very lean cut. I cut and trimmed all the visible fat. It's very lean, so I cut it very, very thin. So you could see how thin of pieces that I cut it in, because it doesn't have a long time to cook. So we just want to make sure that by slicing it and also by letting it marinate a little bit, hopefully that'll be nice little tender for us. And then the addition of some liquid later, but we're just going to be cooking that very quickly. So I'm going to add that to my pan. Let me get a fork. And what you want, okay, just hearing that sizzle. It's only going to be a minute or two. And again, the other reason, number one, we wanted to cut it thin so it would be nice and tender. The other reason is we wanted to cook very quickly, because these are all meals that cook very quickly and come together very fast. And what's nice about this too, if you didn't remember to have anything on hand, it will defrost very quickly for you, and you could get it together. Or if this is something that you actually had to, just pick up a small amount. It's only a pound, so not a lot. And it does go 4 ways. So but that's the other thing when we're talking about the red meat, we could decrease the frequency at which we have it. We could also watch our portion size, which is what I recommend. If you are, I had a lot of people ask me that question over the holidays about how is it okay? How do I navigate the holidays? How do I navigate those social settings? And none of us want to be a disruptive guest, and we show up. And if it's something healthy, if it's a good lean protein that was cooked, with low fat cooking methods in mind, that's certainly something, with a side of good vegetables, fresh vegetables that have been prepared. very plainly, seasoned obviously, but not with the addition of a lot of fats, oils, or sugar. We could go ahead and indulge in that with a larger portion. But if that's not the case, just watch your portion size if it's something that didn't have, wasn't the healthiest of cooking methods. Okay, you take care of that sizzle, and this is not going to take very long. And if you didn't do this for class, this marinade, you have to be very careful about marinade and we get there third. We get that question a lot. Is it okay to add the marinade to whatever I was cooking? Of course it is, as long as you bring it up to temperature. You wouldn't want to put a marinade at the very end or after it was already on a serving plate. You want to give it a chance to get out of that temperature danger zone and come to temperature, and then it is safe for cooking. But often, sometimes what was going on, or sometimes where people were having a problem with it, is they were putting that, maybe taking that marinade and then pouring it over the finished dish, and that's what you don't want to do. So let me just get this in here. And the other thing, I tried to shake off as much as the marinade as possible, and just by using a little bit of that cornstarch, our beef is coated very nicely. So we're just going to, and I could see that it all has cooked very nicely, and that's all it takes. I'll show you in 1 minute here. And you could, what's nice is, if you meal prep, this is a nice thing that could be meal prepped. I went ahead and made some brown rice for us. You could certainly use any type of grain or pasta or anything like that, especially like a whole grain pasta or farro or quinoa. That would go really nicely with this. I like the brown rice. It adds a little bit of a bite, a little bit of a crunch to go with our vegetables. That could be prepared ahead of time, and even if it was on the weekend, so you could see here how nicely that beef came together. So we're going to remove that from the pan. Just going to set it here on the side. Then we're going to add our vegetables, and let's add a little bit of oil. A little bit here. Broccoli, onion, peppers. And we're just gonna let that cook a little bit. And that's gonna sizzle a little bit, and we're just gonna let that go. And let's see what else we want to do. We're just gonna wait a little bit on that. Okay, so I have let me just cover our beef to keep that nice and warm until we're ready to return that back to the pan. Okay, that's ready. And we'll give our vegetables a little. And I'm gonna go ahead and use my spatula and scrape off some of the cornstarch and some of the brown parts of the beef. Okay. We're just gonna let that cook down for another minute. Water. Just add a little bit of water, we'll let it steam a little bit. Crack all those goodies off of the bottom, all the brown bits. And just let that. Okay, just gonna let that go for a little bit. Set this over here. We're gonna also add our marinade. And we just had a little bit there, not a whole lot. So you can see this will be coming up to temperature. And we had that little addition of the cornstarch in there, so it's gonna make a nice little sauce. And then we're also going to add just a little bit of our uh, sesame oil too. Just for some flavor, and then that one is good to go. We'll just leave that go a few minutes. And that one will be ready in just a sec. So that'll be very nice. Again, so we have the broccoli, we have our A vitamins, we have some C, we have our red pepper, which also has C and beta carotene. We have our beef, which is a great source of B12, and we also have our rice that has the B vitamin. So really just a really nice dish that comes together. It's going to be very satisfying, and we're only about 10 minutes in. That's just going to cook a little bit more, so you can see how quickly that does come together. So I'm just going to move my scallions aside, and we will garnish that as that comes out. And let me just move this aside, and we'll be ready for our next dish. And I'm going to get that out of the refrigerator. And our next dish, I had our fish, and let me just move this aside here. Got a good cut. Okay, just want to make sure that I don't mix up any cutting boards here. So I have some nice haddock fillets, and like I said, nice and it's firm. It's not, you wouldn't want to use the flaky fish on this. So like I said, I took this out last night and defrosted it, so it's ready to go. It does have a little liquid on it. So what I'm going to do is just take some paper towels and dry that off. Okay. Let's give that a stir. Simmer a little bit, and I am going to add a little bit of water because it looks like it's a little thick. Okay. All right, so let's take care of our fish. I'm going to just make sure that we have all the water out, and I'm just going to take a paper towel and I'll show you here. It's going to squeeze out some of the liquid just to make sure. And remember, I mean, I say this all the time, but in case this is your first time watching us, you want your fish to be nice and crisp. And if it is wet, it's going to just steam and it's going to be mushy. And we don't want it to be mushy, we want it to be nice and crisp. And this holds true whether we're going to throw this on the grill, put it in the broiler, anything. And this goes for all type of fish. Even if you're baking it, you want to make sure that you remove all the liquid. So I'm going to use, and I'm getting a lot of liquid out. And this goes for shrimp. This goes for all fish. Because of the lack of connective tissue, it does hold on to a lot of water. So just get that out of there. And then I'm going to pat it one more time with some paper towels. Sometimes you think you have all the liquid out, but you don't. So let's just give it another pat. And I'm getting some more out here. And you could hear it. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, I think we're ready to go. So we have our fillets, all the moisture has gone out of them, and we're just going to cut them into strips. Wait. Together real nicely. Okay. And our last one, and then separately, what I've done before class is I beat together 2 eggs, added a little bit of milk, and what we're going to do is just put our fish in there. We're going to dip it in there, and then this is just a really easy recipe. This is a great one if you have any children helping you. What we're going to do is after we're done dipping it, we are going to put it in a bag with some panko breadcrumbs, and we will shake it up, get them coated real nicely, and then we will just saute them real gently. Okay, so let me just get my hands clean here and get our prep for this. We have our egg. And I just have, like I said, I have some eggs and a little bit of milk, about 2 eggs and a 1/4 cup of milk. And then we have our panko breadcrumbs, just a little bit thicker, a little bit chunkier, coarser than a regular breadcrumb. And I'm also going to just salt and pepper my fish. Okay. And this plastic bag is right here. Just a plastic bag that does seal would be very nice to have on hand. And we're just going to toss them in our egg mixture. Okay. Right. Hands clean, and then we will put our panko into our bag. Okay, and then this part is you just want to make sure that you're putting your fish in there and it's not dripping with the egg mixture. So you see it's staying on real nicely. We don't want to, we just want to pick them out. Don't just dump them in there. And you might want to give it a little shake as you, and if you find that you need more breadcrumbs in this, you could always add more. Don't know if I have mine right handy, but I might have to get some more. All right, and then I'm going to get my skillet ready, and let's look at our beef, our broccoli brother. That looks fantastic. Just going to, and they are nice and tender, crisp. Just gonna move that to the back. All right, then we can get started on our next one. And let's see. I think I want it for my fish. All right, and we're just gonna put a little bit of oil in here. All right, and then I'm gonna start adding, once that starts getting done, I'm gonna start adding some of these too here. You just see I have them here. And I'm just doing a few at a time, or I would seal it if I was putting them all in there. Another minute, put that down, and let's get some more panko. The other thing that you could do is you could put this, you could dump this right into a colander and let all the eggs shake off before you put them in there. It's very easy. It comes together real nicely. Okay. We're just gonna fry these real gently. And it's just sizzling real nicely. And our broccoli and vegetables are nice and tender. I'm gonna add the steak back to that after I get a few of these in there. Okay. And that should be one more and we are good. Okay. Let's set that aside. Okay, let's add our beef back to our vegetables. And we have our nice little features here. And we'll just let that all come together. So very quick. You could use any vegetables you want. You could use carrots, you could use zucchini, you could use asparagus. I just went with the peppers and the broccoli because I like the way it adds a lot of color and it goes well with this. If I were using shrimp, I would definitely use the red peppers, maybe even mushrooms or asparagus, something that's nice and light. I probably wouldn't use my broccoli in that one. And then if I were using chicken, of course, anything with that, there's just the possibilities are endless. You could definitely use, think about whatever you have in your refrigerator. And if it's something, and even your freezer, if you don't have fresh on hand, you could always look in your freezer and see if there's any of those vegetables that you could use as well. That might come together really nicely. So let's let that all come together. And then what we'll do is we'll pour that over our rice. Okay, and then with our fish stick, we're going to get our, make sure we have that. They came together real nicely. They're nice and brown. Remember, it could take our children up to, maybe 7 times to decide if they like a food or not. So we want to introduce things that might, like I said, that are finger foods, things that are easy to pick up, things that come with a dip. Dipping is always fun. It makes everything more acceptable to children. So this is a great way to introduce something like fish to your children or to any picky eater. Because it's a little bit, let me just show you what this is looking like. How nicely those little fingers are coming. And it just needs a few minutes on each side. Remember, there's no connective tissue, so it's going to cook very quickly. We were already nice and defrosted, removed out all the liquid. The rule of thumb for cooking fish is typically 10 minutes per inch. This is probably about a ½ inch. So I'm thinking, 3 minutes, 2 minutes on each side, and we should be good to go. So let's get our brown rice and our broccoli, and we'll let that fish just go a little bit longer. And what I did with my rice, rice, everybody should know how to cook rice, correct? So I just made a brown rice today, a shorter grain brown rice, and the ratio is always 2:1. Liquid to rice. I brought for this particular one, bringing the water to a boil, adding the rice after you've rinsed it to get off any dirt or anything that could be in there. Sometimes there could be a little stone in there or little bugs. So you want to make sure you rinse it off really well. And then you would add that to your boiling water, stir it, bring it back to a boil, cover and close the lid and keep an eye on it. It could take anywhere from 18 to 20 minutes. Keep an eye on. Okay, so let's get our fish. I'll turn that down. I'll turn this down. So we're gonna have 2 dishes come together really nicely. Let's just do here is our saute before we put it on there, our beef and broccoli. And we're just gonna put that over our brown rice. And it's just a beautiful, colorful dish. That's what I like about it too. Okay, and then we're just gonna put a couple of, we have our dish here and you can see, I'm just gonna put a little bit of scallions on there. And we have a nice satisfying dish that your whole family will really enjoy. Set that aside, we'll get our fish sticks out. And have them nice and brown on both sides. Brown and nice and brown, golden brown. And they hold their shape real nicely. And panko's nice and crunchy too. And this is a real, we always think about chicken fingers with dipping sauce. And that's certainly a nice way to do our chicken too. Like if you are having, a get together or something, and everybody always forgets about fish, but wouldn't this be a nice welcome addition to any kind of occasion? In addition to having it for a for, maybe an event or something like that. So we have our fish sticks here, and it's not hard for you to see, but let's get our, I will make sure I get all of this on the website. Let's move our cutting board that had fish on it and out of the way, and then we will do our chicken dishes. But before we do that, let's make our sauce, and it's very easy, and it's gonna come together super quick. 4 ingredients, and there are 4 ingredients too. So when we're talking about these fast meals that come together nice and easily, there should be, hopefully they're in your pantry. Very nothing that you would have to go to a specialty store for, or anything out of the ordinary. Maybe you think capers are out of the ordinary, but I think it's a nice thing to keep on hand. We do have capers in this, so we have some reduced fat mayonnaise. Put that in, a little bit of light sour cream, and you could also substitute yogurt in that as well. Some pickles chopped up, and a little bit of capers chopped up. And that's our dip. That smells delicious too. So we have our dip, and we have our chicken. I mean, I was gonna say chicken fingers. We have our fish fingers there. So again, you could use so many different kinds of fish with this. You could use the halibut, you could use the haddock, any type of firm fish like that. I would also recommend trying this with shrimp. You could do the same thing. Again, make sure you get all the liquid out, put it in your little bit of egg wash. You could also use egg whites. Put it in your panko and just very delicately. And then I did use a nonstick pan, and I did use a little bit of olive oil to keep it from catching, but it turned out very nicely. So I'm really excited for my guests to try this. So just a nice little, let me pick one up here so you could see how nicely they stay together. See? And we have our nice little crunchy breadcrumbs. I'm just going to go ahead and dip that into my sauce and enjoy this. So let's put it aside for now and make our chicken dishes. So I'm just going to put that right here. And then we'll bring everything over at the end so we could check it out. Let me just move my dirty dishes and get ready for our next 2. And I think that we will do our Mediterranean chicken first, which is very nice and super easy. So let me just do a quick wipe down from our fish and bring our chicken cutting board over. So you remember, we don't want to use the same cutting board for our raw meats. And I would even separate chicken and fish from the ones that we use with our vegetables. I would separate chicken, try to keep the same cutting boards for the same foods all the time. And it just keeps things nicer. And then what I did too, when I was doing my prep today, I do all the vegetable prep, put that aside, and then the meat, and then, the protein things, and leave those, in their own place, keep them refrigerated. And then the other thing that I wanted to bring to your attention as far as food safety goes, as when I mentioned that I was defrosting everything last night, I mentioned that we do take the fish out of the wrapping if it isn't a sealed plastic package. You want to make sure that you either make a slit and pop it out, or just take it out altogether. I like to take mine out altogether, set it on a plate, cover it with something else, and then set it in the refrigerator. The other thing that you want to make sure that you do is that all of those foods, I have the chicken in there, the fish, and I also have the beef. I put them on the bottom rack of my refrigerator, right? You don't want to put them above any raw foods. You wouldn't want to put, if I had a salad in there or any vegetables or any fruits or things that aren't going to be cooked, or just for, anything that's already prepared too, like even putting it above maybe a leftover that's already been cooked. Because what you could do is get some real cross contamination. Something could drip down, go on that, and it's not going to be cooked. It's not going to get killed. So you just want to make sure that you're not doing any cross contamination or introducing any toxins to something that's not going to be cooked. So let's do our next item, and let me bring our cutting board over since we're talking about that. And our next item is going to be our Mediterranean chicken breast. So I have a few chicken breasts here. And what I'm going to do, because there's a couple different ways you could do them. So I have a chicken breast, and we can either butterfly it and just leave it like that. So we just make a little pocket. This one is a little thick. I think I'm going to actually cut that in half, and then I'm going to do it again because it just seems like it's very thick. You don't want it too thick. It's going to become dry. And that's the whole part of doing this one, is to keep it nice and moist. So here I go. I have my half of a chicken breast, half of a half, I should say. And then what I did is I just made a little pocket inside there. Look, see how nice that is? So what we're going to do is we're going to get all of our little pockets ready. Another one here. Let's get this cut. Right, so again, nice little pocket. And if you did cut all the way through, that's okay. But you just want to make a nice little pocket there. It's okay. You could always even put just one on top of the other. And I might do that with my scraps here because I have, well, actually this will work the way it is. I just don't like to have them too thick. So what I'm going to do is just for this one, I'm just going to pop that in there like that. Let me give my hands a wash, and then we're going to get our stuffing together. And our stuffing is really nice. The fourth class, I sauteed some pepper and onion together. Certainly it would only take a few minutes to do that. Again, it's nice if you have everything prepped. As far as cutting the onion, I used a red pepper. You could also use a roasted red pepper that had been canned. Toss those together, sauteed a few minutes, crumble some feta, cut some Kalamata olives, and I have a few basil leaves. And I'm going to just do a little chiffonade on those as well. So anyhow, let's take our feta, and I just have about a half cup, and I crumbled it. And we're going to add it to our red pepper and onion mixture. And we're also going to add our Kalamata olives, which I just chopped, about 2 tablespoons of them. And I'm going to leave my basil whole. I'm just going to, was thinking I was going to chiffonade that, but I think I'm just going to put some whole pieces in there because I think that would be really yummy. And let's just stir this all together and stuff our chicken breasts, and then we'll get those in the oven. And this mixture looks so good. There's so many things that you could put this on or put it on the side, or this makes a great spread for some crusty bread. So if I have any left over, I might do that too. And again, be very careful. I wouldn't salt this too much. It's going to pick up a lot of salt from the Kalamata olives, and it's also, it might be overpowering. So you might want to wait to salt that afterwards. So let's get our pan. I have a pan prepared with some oil just to make for some quick, easy cleanup for our easy meal. Let's set this aside. And put them like that. And then I'm just going to take our salt and pepper mixture and give everything just a little bit on the chicken. Open up our chicken breast and we're just gonna put our mixture in there. And then give it a little, close it up. And this is really going to be a pleasing meal. It's going to be bursting with flavor. It's going to be creamy because of the feta. It's going to have a lot of color with the red pepper. Just going to be a nice all around delicious meal that I think your whole family will love. And this is something that too, you could probably get some help on the prep with this one. And you just, let me show you what one looks like. I apologize, I can't adjust my camera today. Having a few technical difficulties there, but I will show you what one looks like. Oh, let's put our basil in there too. I'm gonna have some fresh basil. Put a leaf in each of them. So good, just agitating the basil and getting that fresh smell. Oh, so wonderful. And it's nice and easy to keep some basil at home inside in the winter months. So you could have that fresh taste all year long. It stays real nicely. It doesn't need a whole lot of water. Don't put it next to too cold of a window because it's not going to like that. And I'm just going to lift this up very gently and show you what it looks like. Oh, easier said than done. We have our chicken and it's in there. No, it doesn't pick up too nicely, but I just have it stuffed in there and then I close down the outside of it. I'll make sure I get a good picture of this too. All right, and then we're going to drizzle that with a little bit of olive oil, get it in the oven. And then we're going to make our next dish. Get that a little bit of olive oil. Okay. Pop that in the oven. Okay, and I'm gonna broil that. So that'll just broil for a few seconds. I'm gonna keep going back and forth so I can check on that. The next one is our chicken saltimbocca, and I've already prepped these chicken breasts. So this will go pretty quickly. Here's our prep. We have sage, we have our chicken breast, prosciutto, and the only ingredients in our prosciutto were the prosciutto. No nitrates, no nitrates. So that's very nice. And this is going to come together very quickly. And I cut our chicken, you could see also chicken breast cut very, very thinly. And if you have one that is a little bit thicker, we could pound that out too, just because you want to be nice and get our mallet. I'm just going to give those the one was just a little thicker, give them all a little pound. There we go. So even thinner, that one there, we had that one was a little bit thick. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our prosciutto and we're going to take our sage and we're also going to salt and pepper this a little bit. So let's go real quickly here. Take some salt and pepper. And let's do both sides. Get it nice and seasoned here. Okay, wonderful. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put our sage on here. Sage, I highly recommend fresh. I know I said no crazy ingredients, but fresh sage does make all the difference. Let's put 2 on each. Okay. And then we're going to take a piece of prosciutto. Come apart, but that's okay. And we're just going to put it underneath our chicken breast and fold it over. Something like this. Take just a thin piece, and we're going to just wrap it around that piece of sage and just secure that nice and tightly. That's all, just like that. So see, we have our sage under there and the prosciutto on top, just kind of nesting it in there. And what we're going to do with these, again, we're going to just saute these very quickly. Last, peel it out. That heat up. Put some oil in. And while that's heating up, let me check on our chicken. And it looks really nice. Gonna let that go a little bit longer. I'm probably gonna turn it over in a minute. And then we'll get ready to put our chicken with the prosciutto wrapped around it in our skillet here. And we're just gonna lay them in there really nicely. So you just see I have the chicken breast with a little bit of sage underneath, a few sage leaves, and then also our prosciutto. So getting a little sizzle, not quite. You want to make sure that it's nice and sizzling for you, not too hot. We don't want it to burn, but we do want to make sure there's a nice sizzle going on so it's just not soaking up all the oil. And you can hear it, nice little sizzle. It's going nicely, just wrapped here. And again, not the classic, not doing everything, but it's going to give us that essence. And since they're pound so thin, it's only going to take a few minutes on each side. But we're going to saute them real gently, really, really gently. And then we'll remove those. Let me get all this raw things out of our way. Just wipe down. Okay, and I'm going to give that a turn. We just want to do this really gently. You don't have to worry about the prosciutto being on there perfectly. As long as you have it wrapped around there at least 1.5 times, it should stay on there for you. I'll show you what it looks like here. Very nice. Perfect. This is going to be delicious. I'm excited about this one too. I think it'll be a real treat. Let me turn my other chicken, my Mediterranean chicken over. Just on the other side, just to make sure that everything is going nicely there. And I will show you how that's looking. I'm just going to gently turn them over. We have the other side to get done real nicely. Having that stuffing in there, you don't want to We don't want to stuff them too tightly because it might not allow that inner part to get cooked really well. So let's stir our chicken. This is really beautiful. I'll show it to you. You can see it. How nicely that's coming together. And we'll just let that go another minute and we'll put it on a plate and then we'll make our sauce to go with that. So that'll turn out really nicely. So still have about 9 minutes to go and we're on our fourth meal. So just see how quickly these things become together. And I do know that we had some things prepped ahead of time, but you could see, like even with the Mediterranean chicken breast, if you had your chicken defrosted and you had these ingredients on hand, the feta, the onion, the red pepper, and the Kalamata olives, that's very quickly to chop one pepper, half an onion, you know, maybe 10 olives and crumble some feta. That's really quick. And so it's going to come along really nicely. It's going to be a very nice, satisfying meal. You know, our fish sticks too, those come together very quickly as well. Very excited to try one right now. But let's look at our chicken. And I'm going to do, just to see where we are with our chicken, I'm going to just give it a quick check. $150. And we know that needs to come up to 160, so I'm going to just give it a turn. And we don't want to overdo it. Give that a turn over. And it's nice and brown. And that's going to allow that prosciutto to get nice and crispy as well. So excited for that. Get this rinsed off. And let me just take a peek at our chicken in the oven. And that's coming along real nicely too. And that smells amazing. All the smells coming out from the onions and the peppers smells delicious. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to remove our chicken and we're just going to, as soon as we get that up to temperature, we're going to remove it and then add a little bit of broth and lemon juice and a little bit of salt and pepper and some cornstarch just to get it a little sauce to put on here. So let's get this turned and take the temperature. And I'm going to wipe off my thermometer with a little alcohol pad, just in case it is up to temperature. Now, we wouldn't want to, since it wasn't up to temperature last time, we wouldn't want to introduce anything. There. Right. All right, we have our smaller ones that are ready to go. So I'm just gonna take that one out and set that on our plate. See how beautiful that looks. Look how nice that prosciutto got a nice little crust. We have our sage underneath there. All right, give that a little turn. And let me wash off our thermometer with it. Give it a little rinse, then wipe it with an alcohol pad. Okay. And then we'll look at all of our dishes and I will also check the temperature of our other chicken as well. So once we do, let's check, let's check that now. And this one is needs a little bit more. It's almost up to temperature as well. And Another rinse and wipe it with our alcohol. And we'll check this again, because this one is not gonna go back in the skillet. 160, 160, 160. Okay, so those are good. Let's get them all out on our pan here. Going to turn that down. I'm going to give this a little piece of foil to keep it warm, because after we put our sauce on, we're going to be finished. So let me just get a piece of foil for this. And hand it real lightly. Let me just show you how beautiful that is. Very, oh, can't even wait. Okay, so we have that. And then we're going to just put our oil in there, just a little bit more oil. Our lemon. Our chicken broth. And I wanted to add our cornstarch to our chicken broth before that, so it's not lumpy. Give that a little stir. And this just takes a little bit more. Okay. And we'll just give this little stir. We want to make sure we get all of those. Any kind of scrapings off the bottom. And we'll let that go a minute. Just bring that to a boil so it'll thicken, and then we'll pour it over our chicken, and that'll be done. So let me get our fish sticks and our beef and broccoli. We have our fish with our sauce. We have our beef and broccoli. Looks really yummy. And then our last item, other fish. Give it a turn, and that should be good. Sauce is nice. That looks wonderful. Get one of these turned over. Okay, it looks like I have 2 of these ready. This is nice because you'll get a little bit of that stuffing, and I'll just turn it around so you can see. Look how nice that looks. I'm just gonna have the one that's the model here. That looks really yummy. And that could really stand alone. That could also go with our brown rice. I'll probably show that with some brown rice. And then let's take our chicken, untent that, and we're just going to give this a little stir. And it's already come to a boil. And we're just going to pour some of that over. I wanted to get my ladle. Put that right over. There you go. And we have 4 really tasty meals, and they were all between 20 and 30 minutes. Really nice, healthy, carb balanced for your family. I hope you enjoy them. Again, I will make sure I get all of our recipes on the website. I hope you enjoy them. If you have any questions, if you need any modifications to them, please let me know. If you have any allergies, or if there's an ingredient here that you're trying to avoid, or there's an ingredient you want to add, let me know and we'll figure out a way to get that in there for you. But I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you add some of these things to your eating pattern. It'll help you stay on the path to wellness. Thank you so much and have a great day.